Hello, everybody, and welcome to another week's edition of the UGASports Call-In Show. I'm Paul Maharry, and alongside me this week is none other than the Mr. Famous Jason Butt. You're pretty famous, Jason. You're famous.
Well, I don't know if I agree with that statement, but I'll take it.
He is going to be talking all things UGA football with us. Spring football is now underway, guys. We're going to be talking about that. Also, Kenny McIntosh's injury. What do we know? How long is he out for? And what does that do for the the running back room now that he is not going to be there for spring practice? Also, we're going to have Jake Roose joining myself. Jason's going to step out at that point, but Jake Roose is going to join me to talk about the Under Armour Atlanta event that happened today. We were able to go out there and talk to tons of prospects who Georgia's either leading for, in the hunt for, or they're committed to the University of Georgia. And then also, Malachi Stark's commitment is coming up this upcoming week. Jake Roose will also break that down for us as well. So, Jason, first time on the show. You've called in, right, or no? Yeah?
No, this is the first time.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, first time, and he's live on air with us, growing a great mullet right there, Jason. Looking good, man.
Yeah. It's been it started out as just some COVID hair, and then I kept going.
So,
quarantine hair.
Yeah. Now it's quarantine hair. It looks good though, man. So really happy that you're on the show with us tonight. First off, before we jump into the full spring practice, can you kind of talk to us about Kenny McIntosh's injury? What do we know? What's going on with that? Obviously, Lavoisier LC switched over to defensive back. Now, what are we thinking right there? So just kind of break down that whole thing for us.
Right. Yeah. Kenny McIntosh, first padded practice on Saturday, goes down with an elbow injury. It's significant enough to put him out for an indefinite amount of time. So no timetable, no real, no date timeline to go off of. Can't say X amount of weeks, just don't know yet. That said, I would imagine, like in most cases, since Kirby Smart's been here, when it comes to injuries in spring ball, if it's something like this, they usually stay out the rest of spring ball. They're not going to rush him back. They're not going to risk the re-injury. I don't envision him coming back for the spring, but it really doesn't matter. Yeah, it's let this guy get healthy. Let's get him to the fall. Let's get him to August, and let him do his thing then. I think Kenny McIntosh, he's the guy going into last year who I really thought was not getting as much attention that he should. He's a super talented guy. He can make plays as a receiver and running back. Y'all saw that during the season. It's just one of the most loaded running back rooms that you're going to see. So, you mentioned Lavoisier Carroll. I do have to wonder if this week of practice, if Lavoisier Carroll might flip back over to the offensive side of the ball. There's no way to know right now, but that's a guy who came in, highly touted 4-star running back. So they've had him at corner for the last for this first week of spring, because this is a guy who's got incredible speed. He can run in the 4.3s and the 40-yard dash, and so they need corners. Kirby's harped on that for quite a while. So the fact that they need corners, might as well have a guy like Lavoisier Carroll get a look out there in a crowded backfield. Now you take one of those guys out, I do wonder. It's still a deep backfield, so you
right.
may still keep Carroll there for now.
Yeah, that was the first thing that popped in my mind was, all right, so what are we going to be doing now with LC? That's the biggest thing, because with Kenny Mack going out, like you said, I think that running back room, do they need Kenny McIntosh? I mean, he's not the number one guy. Do they really want to have him out there to get another year under his belt in spring practice? Absolutely. I mean, you don't want to lose a guy to injury, period. But at a position to where you can lose a guy, I think running back is one of those. Now, if they had like a corner go down, if Ringo went down or something like that, I think that a lot of people would be screaming way worse than they are right now for Kenny Mack. So I think moving forward, you got to get him healthy. Obviously, there was another injury as well. Tyrone Ingram Dawkins was injured, so you've got that on the defensive line, but you've also got a ton of depth on the defensive line. Jason, is that right?
Yeah, and you hate to say it, but if you're going to have two guys get injured at the very beginning of spring practice, what better position groups where you have great depth? Like you said, the secondary, really specifically at corner, they don't need any injuries. They need all those guys to get as many reps as they can. They need Nyland Green to get as many reps as he can. Keely Ringo, as you said, because this is a guy who would have had a good chance of contributing last year if not for his shoulder injury that kept him out. So you take those guys into Jalen Kimber's another guy. I think he's going to need to get as many reps as possible. All those guys. So up front, defensive line, they're set. They're going to have one of the best defensive lines in the country. At least they should, in my opinion. So Ingram's Dawkins, another guy, you want him to get the reps, but you're not worried position-wise when it comes to the bigger picture, with his injury than you would if it was something like cornerback or something like JT Daniels, knock on wood.
Good Lord. Don't wish that on us, man.
I don't wish that on. I'm not wishing that on anybody, but you know what I mean. There are positions you just can't afford. Spring, August, whatever. And so if it's gonna happen, running back in D-line with how deep this team is at those particular spots.
Now, we've got some guys already in the chat. Mitchell Fletcher saying, thanks for the show and go Dogs. Not the best weekend for the Diamond Dogs. Glad that Georgia was able to win Saturday at least. I know we brought you in to talk football, and we will, but Mitchell did bring up a good point. When you lose your head coach to COVID, that kind of throws things into kind of a spiral, I would think, right?
This has been a weird year for everybody.
Right.
All sports across the board. And so, you throw in your head coach, or you throw out your head coach, really, and because of a positive test, and it throws out the flow and the rhythm. I mean, Scott, it's funny. I mean, not to get off on a tangent here, but
go ahead.
Just remember, what was it, 2 years ago or 3 years ago when everybody was screaming to fire Scott Strickland?
Oh, man, dude, the screams were so loud.
Yeah,
so loud.
It's not like they weren't justified at the time because this guy, they hadn't turned it around yet. They had a really strong finish in that season. The season, I can never get my years correct, but that was that last year. They had a losing record, but they had a strong finish. And then I guess it would have been 3 years ago because then it's the last 2 years.
Yep.
They've turned things around, and they should be a pretty good team this year, at least from how that starts. But you take away a good coach, somebody who's proven now he's been able to make that turnaround or get it started, and you take him away, and you see it. You're just not going to have the same kind of rhythm that you otherwise would. I mean, baseball is such an interesting sport from a coaching perspective as it is, and it's very nuanced, and so that's a tough situation for the Diamond Dogs to deal with this weekend.
And guys, if you're watching, as always, make sure to call in if you'd like to. I see we just missed a call. If that was you, give us a call back. Didn't want to interrupt Jason while he was in the middle of his talk there, but guys,
you can't interrupt me. No, we gotta get these people on the line.
So, guys, if you do not want to call in, make sure you're talking to us in the chat, guys. We want to hear where you're from, or gals, where you're from, where you're watching from, who busted your bracket, the first team that busted your bracket. Put that in the chat as well. I think Ohio State was the one that crushed everybody, but I think my bracket was done after the first game. But I am doing okay right now, Jason, with my second bracket, which I did not put into any money leagues, obviously. The one that you leave to yourself. We're 98% on ESPN. The other one, we still got a chance. We have Baylor as the winner, so we still got all of our Final Four teams, but anyways, QFlow81 in the chat says, quick basketball question. Any truth to the rumors that Crean is looking to leave UGA? And QFlow puts it into the chat, and I read it. And, I think there might be some smoke. Not anything that we've been able to verify, Jason. I don't think there's anything we've been able to verify there.
Yeah, there's smoke. We'll leave it at that. There's definite smoke. That Tom Crean Marquette thing could have legs. It could, but you also have to wonder, one of the first things that should pop into everybody's head is this a play where Tom Crean, and I know this, and I know that Joni Crean loves Athens. I've heard that from somebody I trust.
Most
family loves
not to get off on a tangent here, Jason. Most coaches and coaches' wives love Athens. Mark Richt just moved back to Athens. Jim Donnan lives in Athens. I think we could just go down the list. Does Ray Goff still live in Athens?
Ray Goff stayed. Vince Dooley's still here.
Yeah. So I mean, most coaches. But anyways, go ahead, Jason.
Right. So Joni Crean, they do love it here. But the first thing that should pop into everybody's head is he trying to use this as an opportunity to get support from Josh Brooks? That would be the move to get the new AD, a young AD, to give him an extension. Now, if you do that, here's the thing: if Josh Brooks does that, one, it's probably a bad look at this particular time because you're talking about a guy who is coming off 3 not so good seasons, 3 bad seasons for that matter, and still had the number 1 pick in the draft, last year, and still had a bad season. And so it's gonna be a tough sell. But if you do such a thing, maybe you lessen the buyout. You gotta like meet a really good spot if you're going to give this guy a raise or any kind of extension to stay.
I've talked about. I'm sorry, Jason.
Go ahead.
I've talked about this with Trent, though. I've said, this for Josh Brooks coming into being the AD. This is a huge test for him. Hey, look at there. We've got light over there with Jason.
I've been using the natural light.
Yeah, and then it just went out, huh?
Like the sun is coming down.
Yeah. You're good, man. But I talked about this with Trent. I said this is going to be a huge test for Josh Brooks with his first kind of, it's not so much a hire, it's not so much a fire, it's what do I do with Tom Crean? And now, with this whole Marquette thing popping up, like you said, Tom Crean now has kind of a thing to say, hey, the old bait and switch, hey, I could take this, but, I would love to stay in Athens. Let me get 3 more years or whatever the contract may be. So I think that's going to be very interesting just to watch from an outsider's point of view as to what exactly happens with Tom Crean moving forward, because we don't necessarily know. Q-Flow, that's a great question, though, man, because right now there is a little bit of smoke, but I don't think there's any fire to it just yet. So Q-Flow, he writes in the chat, Jason, he says, I could see using that as a play for support. Thanks. I'm here in Brookhaven, and my bracket was busted by the Big Ten laying an egg. I feel you, brother.
Ooh,
I feel
you.
Dude,
the Big Ten. Oh, my God.
I feel you, man.
So I'm in a pool where you're able to do 3 submissions, and my strategy every year I do this. It's a huge pool, so you do 3 brackets, $10 each. Every year I do a safe one, not so safe, some upsets, and then one where I wouldn't say I go all out, but it's definitely like what I think, what I want. But
right.
Smart at the end. Dude, I love Loyola Chicago. Like, I picked Loyola Chicago Final 4 in that bracket.
Dude, so
I love that coach. I can't believe since the last run he hasn't gotten a bigger job.
Yeah, I think that this run right here.
On over here, by the way, because it's super dark in here.
You're good. Go ahead, Jason. That's also my pick as well. So in my original bracket, guys, I had Georgia Tech actually winning. And then my second bracket, which I kind of went on a limb on, I picked Loyola. And after looking into like the KenPom rankings, after I submitted my large bracket for the pool, I realized Loyola is a heck of a lot better, especially than Georgia Tech without Moses Wright, and I kind of shot myself in the foot there. But anyways, getting back on track to the Dogs and back to spring practice. Let's see. Cool Breeze JP says, if Crean leaves or gets fired, Georgia should talk to the coach at Loyola Chicago. That dude can coach. I would make him refuse my offer. There you go, Jason. Another person, Cool Breeze JP, saying the same thing. I think that that guy is going to, and Mitchell Fletcher, what I was just talking about, I don't know if you heard, Jason, was I looked up my bracket after on KenPom, I picked Georgia Tech, right, and I shouldn't have, but anyways, I did, and that was before Moses Wright and all that, but I said I looked up Loyola and KenPom, and they're 9th in the nation, just like Mitchell Fletcher said. They're a good team, dude. So
really good team, man. They play fundamental, but like it's not like they don't have athletes either.
Right.
They're a really good team, and teams like that they come around and make these runs, once every 3 or 4 years. And they got senior leadership, and that's kind of this team is arguably better than the last team that made the Final Four run.
Okay, I'm going to shift gears a little bit. We're going to talk about spring practice in just a second and kind of dive into that, but what if there was a March Madness for football? Do you really think teams like Abilene Christian, and because they say in March Madness, right, they say it's one game, anything can happen in one game, and it does. Abilene Christian beats Texas, Loyola Chicago beats Illinois. Do you think there's any chance that like a team like Abilene Christian could beat the Texas in football, or is it really just a basketball type thing? And I know this is totally off topic, but that's always been in my head.
It's probably just a basketball type thing.
I think so too. I think so too.
It's a 5-on-5 instead of 11-on-11 different offense and defense, or really 22 on 22 plus subs. I mean, it's football's, they call it the ultimate team game for a reason. And
Right.
so you just the talent and the players, it would be really hard to. Now that's not to say that like if you had a big pool, that's not to say like you wouldn't have upsets. I mean,
Sure, but like I just don't see this like.
You wouldn't have like Alabama as a 1 seed or Texas, or I shouldn't say Texas in football. They're
yeah.
Or,
they might be the 14 seed.
The best. Yeah, Ohio State or Alabama as a 1 and losing in the second round to an 8 or 9. Like that's just not gonna happen. I mean,
right.
But I mean, the thing about college football is, you know, that stuff does sort of happen sometimes. I mean, you sometimes see. I mean, I don't mean to bring this up, but you know, last year South Carolina beating Georgia, and it's like that. How does that happen? That shouldn't happen, but you know, sometimes any given day they say. So.
Dude, Mitchell Fletcher is one of our.
You wouldn't see that at the same rate as basketball does. I guess my point.
Right. Yeah. Mitchell Fletcher is one of our best commenters on our YouTube page, Jason. He puts football maybe 1 out of 100 compared to basketball 1 out of 10, which I think is probably accurate. Because
I like that. I like that.
You look at Abilene Christian. I think they lose that game 9 times out of 10. Now, in football, they would lose that game 99 times out of 100. So I agree. So moving back to Georgia, though, spring practice is now underway, Jason. We've been going at it for a week now. You do the daily recaps over on UGASports.com. What are a few headlines, I guess, that have caught your eye? I'll go first with one that's caught mine, then I'll kind of let you go with yours. I think one of the biggest things for me was Kirby Smart said, look, last year we really didn't get a lot of guys experience at multiple positions. And he mentioned Jermaine Burton being able to only learn his wide receiver position. He wasn't able to learn the X, Y, and Z. He was able to learn his. And I think that is going to be the biggest thing moving forward for this football team and most football teams is getting those freshman guys or even sophomores or et cetera, is where you want to cross-train them. Because last season it was like, hey, you've got to learn your playbook. You've got to get it down, and you've got to go. Like, we don't have time to waste. You've got to learn your position. This year, I think, getting to cross-train guys, and Kirby referenced it a lot, I think that's going to be huge for them moving forward, especially getting a guy like Jermaine Burton more reps at the different receiver positions. So that was one of my takeaways, Jason. What was yours?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just staying on top of that cornerback battle. When you look at Keely Ringo's probably going to be he's probably going to start, and then after that, who is it going to be? Is it going to be Amir Speed, Jalen Kimber, Nyland Green? Is he going to be the guy? Adam. I guess another one to throw out there, Adam Anderson at star.
Yeah, what was that?
I get that. That Kirby then tried to say that it's really not that different from being an outside linebacker, to a degree. But I mean, it is like you. As an out, because star, depending on the formation, you will be further out. Then you're not going to be in the box. You're going to be lined up further out. I get that there is some overlap in terms of responsibilities depending on formation, how the defense is lining up. But it reminds me of what they did with Leonard Floyd, or what I guess it would have been the previous staff. In 2015,
right.
They lined him up everywhere. He played outside backer. Inside backer, he played star. He did a lot of stuff. I mean, and you like to see it and he finally got paid. That was a pretty good deal for him.
He got paid, dude. I don't know if he should have got that much, but he got paid.
Well, right time. I mean, the Bears let him go, and he did the right place, right time with the Rams. So, good for him. But that's kind of what this reminds me of. But I just wonder. That's great. I mean, I think Adam Anderson is obviously he's a freak athlete. So I think giving him those opportunities is I get why, but you do wonder, man, this guy gets after the quarterback. So I think the coaching staff at the end of the day is going to have to ask itself, do you want this guy to continue to do what he does best more times, or do you want him to kind of move around and do different things within defense? Do you need him to move around and do different things, or can you get by with everybody else involved by allowing him to focus on rushing the passer? So those are the conversations. That's why I don't get paid money to make those decisions. those will be big things that this staff's going to have to answer with Adam Anderson because, I mean, as a rotational player, the guy gets 6.5 sacks. I mean, that's big. That's huge. You know, perhaps next year in a bigger role, he can get more. So I'm really looking at what Adam Anderson's doing. And I think in addition to the corners, I'm really interested to see, you know, how they use him or really how they view him, you know, in 2021.
I think the biggest thing for me is how good can these cornerbacks get in the short amount of time that they have starting. So Ringo, Kimber, you know, you could throw a bunch of other names out there. And then what we see at G-Day, when they go good on good, we see JT Daniels. I want to see what these corners can actually do because, Jason, there isn't a cupcake game to start out the season. They're going up against Clemson. They're going up against DJ. Like, it's not one of those, hey, we're going to bring Nicholls State in and pay him $1 million and you guys can go run all over the field on him. We can try out Adam Anderson at star if we want to. You know, we can do all those things. Against Clemson, dude, you got to be locked in, and you have to have corners that are locked in. And so I still think, and I'm a firm believer in this, that they're still looking in the transfer portal for a corner as we speak. Because right now I don't think we have the two starting corners on the roster right now that we'll see against Clemson. That's me. That's me talking from the heart. I don't think that we have the two starters on the team right now. But besides that, go ahead, Jason. Yeah.
I don't disagree with that. I mean, it's Kirby. If he can find somebody in the portal, he's going to find somebody in the portal. I
think he found somebody in Kendrick. The whole gun charge maybe made him step back. But you know, we'll see what plays out with that. Trent Smallwood in the chat says, looking good, boys. We appreciate it, Trent, as always. Jumping in the chat this time instead of being on here with us. So, guys, if you have any questions, the line is always open, 706-363-3773. If you have a question for Jason Butt, we don't get to see him on the show very often. He'll be on every once in a while, guys. We've never seen him. Looks like your bandwidth went low, Jason. You went a little small on me. It's okay. I don't think there's anything you can do about it. You'll pop up big again. But
I mean, I think my problem is I'm temporarily in Lincolnton right now. I'm in Lavassier. Yeah, so the internet isn't the greatest.
Well, it's all right, man. So I think that what we touched on, though, Jason, was exactly what we wanted to touch on, was that spring football, the injury to Kenny McIntosh, and what that kind of entails. So, Jason, love having you on the show, man. If we can have you on any time in the future, we certainly would love to have you. So we appreciate you coming on and talking dogs with us. And there'll be many more Sunday nights. And then when the season starts, we'll be talking late night Saturday after the games. So we'd love to have you on then as well, man.
Yeah, man. Anytime. Appreciate it.
All right, guys, that's Jason Butt right there. We're going to switch over to my full face there for a second. We appreciate Jason hopping on with us. We're going to have Mr. Jake Roose joining us in just a few seconds. Actually, let me go ahead and send him the digits right now so he can call in. Guys, we had a big time. Let me go ahead and start this. Let me start this call again. Hold on, guys. Give me 1 second. I've got to host this meeting again and get Jake Roose to give us a call. So today, Jake, myself, Roddy, and Patrick Garvin all went out to the Under Armour event here in Atlanta and saw a ton of prospects, guys, a ton of prospects that are all interested in Georgia. I've got some clips here that we'll show while Jake's talking to us about some of these guys, and Jake's also going to be talking about Malachi Stark's commitment as well. So Jake will be calling in just a few seconds, and we will get that started. Guys, thanks for bearing with us here on the UGA Sports Call-In Show. Jake Roose is right there. Let's get him in. Jake Roose, UGAsports.com. You there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
There he is. And I was just prepping the people, Jake. We had quite a day today, my friend. Tons of prospects at the Under Armour. What do they actually call that, Jake?
The Under Armour All-America Camp Series.
Yeah, I've never gotten it right, so thank you for helping me out there. The Under Armour, and I still forgot it, you just said it, the Under Armour All-American Camp Series. Is that correct?
Yes, that is my understanding, according to all press releases I've seen.
So today, Jake, we saw, 300 kids out there potentially between O-line, D-line? So guys, how this camp works now, I think, used to be everybody would get out there, they would run it all at the same time. Now, obviously, due to COVID, they're running it a little differently. So O-line, D-line was in the morning session. I think that was from like 9-ish to 12 maybe, with registration bundled in there as well. Then you had linebackers and running backs right after them, and then you also had defensive backs, quarterbacks, and wide receivers to finish off the day. And Jake, we saw quite a bit of prospects that are interested in Georgia, either committed to Georgia, top 3 for Georgia, top 5 for Georgia, or just a plethora of guys. So can you talk to me about a little bit of what you saw today and who stood out?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it was a completely loaded camp. I've been to the first 2 before this, Dallas and Miami, and both had an exceptional amount of talent as well. But from a Georgia perspective, you weren't going to do better than this in-state camp. I mean, you're talking about 40 plus guys out there that we were kind of honed in on and really kind of focused on. Definitely some highlights of the camp, I would say. One of the guys that really caught my eye just walking around on the eye test. C.J. Washington, the Georgia commit for 2022 linebacker.
He looked really good.
Kid looks phenomenal. And I loved what he had to say, too. Kind of asked him how things had been going, how the relationship had been progressing. First off, locked in with Georgia. I think people need to know that up front. But also, I think that one of the considerations he's kind of coming to is what position does he want to play? And there is some talk, apparently, about Del McGee maybe looking at him as a running back in this class.
Really?
He's, looking to, yeah. He's listed for us as an athlete.
Sure.
And I think most people expect he'll end up at inside or outside linebacker, which is definitely still in the consideration, and I think probably at the forefront. But I was just interested to hear that Georgia kind of had, maybe some not second thoughts, but maybe just some an open mind when it came to a kid of his caliber. I mean, go watch the running back tape on the kid. He knows how to plow him over. So that one caught my eye. LT Overton, the 2023 soon to be 5-star for Rivals out of Milton High School, just a star. A kid who has every bit of it, anything you want when it comes to just a player at the next level. I was really impressed with him. Thought Tyler Booker looked really good at IMG Academy. Just a great body on him. And then for me, the biggest piece of eye candy on the day was Walter Nolan. I mean, he looks ready for the NFL Combine tomorrow. I think he could slip in there and not get a lot of questions about what he was doing there. So
speaking about those D-line guys, Jake, sorry to cut you off. I'm going to go ahead and run some B-roll kind of while we're talking here. Tyree West is going up here first. He had 2 reps. He won the first one. Second one wasn't his best rep. But, Jake, we talked about it while we were out there at the camp. And there's going to be other guys playing on this 3-minute video or so here that you talked about, Walter Nolan, all those guys. But we talked about it while we were there. Tyree West, this isn't his setting. So don't get discouraged because he lost his second rep against a guy that doesn't have any stars. This just isn't his setting. Put the pads on Tyree West, Jake, and it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, he went to his first camp last year. I mean, it's not like this is a kid who's kind of come up through those ranks. He's down there in Tift County where the competition's strong, but it's not like, a hotbed for the camp series like an Atlanta might be. So, a kid who I think is kind of finding his footing in that way. But like you said, the people I've talked to say what he does on tape, what he does on Friday nights, and what he does when those lights are on and the pads are on. That's why Georgia's in on him. That's why he's a 5-star at Rivals.com. And, I think that there's a lot to be excited about when it comes to Tyree West, especially considering what he's doing on the recruiting trail on their behalf. Walter Nolan, definitely a guy that he mentioned, and Walter Nolan mentioned him as well as a guy that he's really well connected with.
You're exactly right. I was able to talk to Tyree exactly about that. Walter was standing maybe 5 feet away, and I said, what about this guy? Are you going to be able to convince him to come to Georgia? And he said, that's my biggest target. That's my biggest target. He's going to say, yeah, I think I can get him. Nobody's going to say, no, I can't get him, man. He's out of here. There's no way he's coming here. But he was able to say with confidence, yeah, I think I'm going to be able to get him to come with me to Georgia. And he mentioned it himself. He said, look, this recruiting class for the defensive line is one of the best. And I also asked him, and it will be over on UGASports.com here in just a little bit, but I asked him about, the transition, I guess, of Trey Scott, the progression of Trey Scott. Obviously, when he first started here at the University of Georgia, Jake, and we're going to go back to my face on the screen here. Welcome back, folks. Here I am. But the transition from Trey Scott being an okay recruiter, he was really frowned upon when he first started, wasn't able to land some big in-state guys, to now being this otherworldly defensive line recruiter. Jake, what can you tell us about the transition? Because there are a ton of guys, and this could potentially realistically be Georgia's best defensive line haul in the last 4, 5, 10, 12, however many years.
Yeah, definitely I think that it's on pace to be their best haul, at least since I've been covering it. And that's going back to, a class that underperformed but was full of stars when you're talking about Julian Rochester and Tyler Clark and Michael Carter. That group of guys came through and had a lot of high expectations around them. It didn't pan out exactly how you thought. These guys, in my opinion, I think that you're talking about, more five-star talent, more guys kind of at the top. And, what I always tell people when it comes to Trey Scott is he came in, as a bit of an unknown to a degree, but also a guy who was facing a pretty tough situation in that Georgia has not had a defensive lineman drafted since John Jenkins.
Yeah, it's been a long time. It's been a long time.
Yeah. Dude, John Jenkins is like about to retire from the NFL. He's been in that long.
Right.
This is it's a tall order. It's not exactly the easiest point of sell. It's not like running back for Georgia or linebacker or defensive back. It's been a while since they've had some success there. Though, looking at a guy like Jordan Davis, that he's about to change that narrative. That's going to happen. They've got a shot to do it this year with Malik Herring. I think that they can knock the curse off. But I think that, when you look at Jordan Davis and what he's done with Jordan Davis, just a fantastic job of development. Great job spotting him. I think that not a lot of teams really poured in as heavily as Georgia did. And then the fact that the way that they developed him, I think that, you took him from a guy who was playing a lot of offensive line his senior year, and now has kind of come into his own as one of the top defensive linemen in the nation.
No, you're exactly right. And
I think.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think that's been huge for Trey Scott. To take a guy like that, to take a guy like Devontae Wyatt, and to see what those guys have been able to do under his tutelage. Georgia is selling that in a big way. They're lucky because they've got a lot of in-state kids this year, but it's ringing true with a lot of these guys, and you're hearing Trey Scott's name mentioned among the top recruiters.
Jake, you're exactly right with that statement about the in-state defensive guys, and it's not just the defensive line. You also mentioned Washington. There's defensive backs out there. We talked to Emory Floyd. I mean, there are a ton of guys in the state of Georgia right now, and that leads me to my next point. But before I get to that, guys, if you're watching, put where you're watching us from, what city, what state, in the comment section. Also, if you have a question about a prospect from the state of Georgia that Georgia's after, I can almost promise you that we talked to them today. There were so many kids out there. Myself, Jake Roose, Roddy Nabolsi, and also Patrick Garvin. All four of us were out there. We talked to, I would say, 40 or 50 kids that had either a Georgia offer, Georgia interest, 2022, 2023, 2024. So if you have a question, guys, put it in the chat. We'd love to interact with you guys. You don't want to just hear myself and Jake talk for the next 10 minutes. Trust me. Get a question in, and ask about a guy, because I can almost guarantee you we talked to him or saw them today perform. And we've got Jonathan Taylor saying, Gainesville, Georgia. Hey, man, you're right up the road. I'm over here in Flowery Branch, brother. Big Sam, Columbus, Georgia in the house. There we go. Johnny Lester, Go Dogs from Boca Raton, Florida. Michael Rowan, Lumpkin, Georgia.
Boca Raton, okay.
Boca Raton, excuse me. I'm not fancy like Jake there. He corrected me. Jonathan Taylor says, number one prospect in the 2023 class, ? Jake, is LT Overton your number one prospect?
Gotta be, man. I don't think
he looked like a freak, bro.
Yeah, there's really no way to kind of pass him over. I mean, he's got everything you want. He's that new age, guy that you feel like could probably stand up, play off the edge, rushing that way. He's going to be big enough to play with his hand in the ground and creates a ton of havoc there. And I think what people don't know about LT, in addition to him being such a fantastic player, a kid with a great background, great home life. Father is the AD at Kennesaw State. So, when it comes to these interviews, I got to give the kid a lot of credit. He's super sharp. He's super prepared. He knows the right things to say. the kind of kid that you want representing your program for sure.
We also got a couple more comments. Jake says, Lump Dog in Columbus, Georgia. Gary Powers says, I'm going to totally I just botched the word botch, but Baton, Philippines, as Gary Powers is watching us from the Philippines. We appreciate that. Johnny Lester said you pronounced it right the first time. Boom. Oh, then he retracted the message. I don't know. Somebody's messing with me over here. I think I pronounced it the first time correct. Thank you, Johnny. We'll get confirmation on that. Q-Flow says Michael Williams, ? Jake.
I got to say, I feel good about where Georgia stands with Michael. I know that there was a lot of, concern when he decided to delay the decision. And I think that, I can understand where people are coming from with that. But at the same time, if you're these kids and you're getting the opportunity to visit for the first time in well over a year and a half, roughly, the possibility looks like it's going to happen in June. Guys are looking toward that. They want to take this opportunity. They really just want to enjoy their recruitment. A lot of these kids in this 2022 class haven't had a chance to do that. They haven't been on the big visits. They haven't had a chance to take official visits. I tell guys all the time, listen, if somebody's paying you, that are paying for you to come to their campus, the all expenses paid trip to,
sometimes Jake, you can also get paid on those visits too in McDonald's bags. Just so you had it right. I know you corrected yourself, Jake, but you were
I don't
kind
know
of
nothing about what you're talking about there. Why would you not take that opportunity? I think that it's just an incredible chance. You get to see some things you've never seen before in your life, go places you've never gotten to go. Listen, if Steve Sarkisian wanted to pay me to come hang out in Austin, Texas, I'd go do it too. That sounds like a great time. So I think that while Michael's decision to push forward, caused some consternation with Georgia fans, I do think that Georgia is still the team to beat. Southern Cal is right there. I think that they feel really good about their chances. Ohio State also feels pretty strong right now. But right now, if I'm picking the day, I'm still leaning with Georgia. It's been that way for some time.
And Johnny Lester did say he after the message was retracted, Jake, he did say that I pronounced it correctly. So appreciate that, Johnny. Jonathan Taylor says chances with Starks ? UGA versus Bama. Jake, do they have to go over to the site for that, or you want to give them a little bit of insight? Because I have it on our just to let you know, I did tease it as one of our topics for tonight. We were going to talk about Malachi Starks' commitment and what that kind of entails, the time, things of that nature. But dive into that as you see, please, or as you see fit.
Yeah, I had a chance to talk with him, and I got to tell you, I asked him straight up. I said, "Have you made a decision?" He said, "I have not," and I believe that's true. I think that he's genuinely torn. He said it is down to 2 schools, not just 3 anymore. He didn't say which school's kind of out of the running, but it sounds like. Listen, Alabama, they've got the development, they've got the championships. Clemson, they've got championships, they've got that family atmosphere. And then when it comes to Georgia, you're talking about that hometown school right down the road from Jefferson. He said I can't go anywhere in town without getting go dogs everywhere.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, and that makes sense. And I even asked him. I said, "How do you think people will react if you pick a school that's not Georgia?" And he goes, "Well, they're definitely not going to want to hear it where I'm from." He said, "But I hope that they'll still support me." I think that just a great kid, but genuinely think he's torn about that decision. I think that for a long time we thought Georgia would be a slam dunk because of proximity. I think that Clemson's probably the school to watch out for other than Georgia. I don't know about Bama right now, but I think that Clemson really making a strong push, that family atmosphere really playing well. Dabo Swinney really impressing him and his family.
I know that Georgia is very high on Starks, and I think that he's really high on their board. I know that this would be a huge shock because for me, I've had Starks pretty much penciled into this class since, when we first heard about him and first saw his tape and saw how close he was in Jefferson High School right down the road. I think it would be a shock for me if he didn't pick Georgia, but I think anything can happen. And Jake, when is that commitment and what time and how can we watch that?
Yeah, that's going to be on Thursday night, this Thursday night, 6:30. It's going to be the Jefferson Civic Center, and you can watch it over at UGASports.com. We'll have you covered for everything over there. We will definitely be in-house for the commitment of Malachi Starks.
Mitchell Fletcher said he's watching from Mesa, Arizona. He said, y'all still confident in Branson Robinson coming? ? Looks like a wrecking ball. And then he also agrees with you, Jake, on letting these guys take advantage of the free official visits. What's your thoughts on Branson Robinson?
Listen, he's spot on with that film breakdown. Listen, that kid is a wrecking ball. He's Nick Chubb made over. Go watch the tape. I mean, that is some fantastic high school running back tape. You're not going to see much better. That's why he's the number one recruit in the nation at the running back position. I do feel good about where Georgia sits. I think that he's really tuned in with the legacy there. Now, listen, it's not going to be easy. I mean, your competition is Alabama, LSU, and Oregon. I mean, that's some of the best recruiting schools, some of the highest success, and certainly produced their fair share of backs. So, not walking away with this one, but I think he'll take visits, take the opportunity. Right now, Georgia seemed to beat in my mind for Branson Robinson, and I think that they've got a good chance of closing that one out.
Q-Flow says Oscar Delp ? Oscar was not there today. I'm pretty sure, Jake, correct me if I'm wrong, he is an Army All-American commit. This was a UA event. Sometimes you see him overlap, but if they are already committed to that bowl, normally they try to keep those guys away from the competition, so to speak. So that's why we didn't see Oscar Delp out there. Is that right, Jake?
Yeah, that's kind of my feeling on what happened. I mean, he could have been, who knows?
He could have been sick or whatever.
Maybe he was at Disney World with his family. I mean,
right.
It's hard to say, but Delp is another guy I do feel really strongly about Georgia's chances with. Kind of feels like a win, not if to me. I think that he's the number one target on their board. Has consistently said, listen, my best relationship is with Todd Hartley. And they've prioritized him from the beginning. I don't know that they're only going to take one side into this class. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, a guy like Holden Stays, would make a lot of sense to bring in as well. But in my opinion, it's Delp all the way, number one, and I do feel good about where they sit.
I think Georgia has to love the fact that Delp and Gunnar Stockton both play on the same 7-on-7 team, Hustle Inc. here in the state of Georgia, ran by Tony Ballard. I think Georgia has to love the fact that those guys are seeing each other on a regular basis, are really becoming close, throwing touchdown passes from Stockton to Delp, and that can't hurt Georgia at all. So, Jake, moving forward, what do we look on to? John Freeman says, "Go Dogs" from California. Now, my man's out in Cali right now, living the life. John, when are you going to hook me up with a plane ticket? Never been out that far, so if you could help me out, would greatly appreciate it if you could put me up. Jonathan Taylor says, what about KoJo? How high is his ceiling? Who would you compare him to? That's a really good question, man. KoJo, to me, I'll start this one off, Jake. I love KoJo. I love KoJo's tape. I think he is a speedster. I think that he is probably your number one wide receiver on the board. If it was my board, obviously it's not, because here I am running a call-in show on a Sunday night and not over at the Butt Smear facility. But KoJo to me is extremely high up on the board. His ceiling is extremely high. Who would you compare him to though, Jake? I don't have a comparison in my head right now though.
The guy who immediately kind of sprung to mind, and I don't know that, this is like the most accurate of comparisons, but a guy that I think he compares really well to is maybe a little bit stouter version of Kearis Jackson. I think that he plays very similarly to Kearis. I think that, both very quick guys, both very physical receivers, very well built, sturdy frames on those guys. They can get up there and bang. And I think that that's what he's looking for with a playmaker like that. No question, KoJo's firmly in the mix with Georgia. Texas A&M going to be hard to beat there, no question about it. I'm not saying this one's a slam for Georgia at all. And right now, I think it could go either way there, but definitely one of the two, in my opinion, at this point for Antwi.
And Jake, before I let you go and before we sign off for the evening, we found out June 4th, June 5th, June 6th, whatever, somewhere around that weekend, it looks to be the weekend where they're having all of all the guys from the state of Georgia come do their official visits. We heard that from Addison Nichols. We heard that from several other guys, Emory Floyd as well. And that looks to be the weekend. And what Addison told me, Jake, was Georgia wants to have Georgia guys only. This is a Georgia guys only official visit that they're going to be having right there at the start of June. And for me, Jake, it just meant they're going really, really heavy in this class in the state of Georgia. And it seems like they really don't have to leave the state as much as they have in recent years because of the amount of talent here. Jake, did you hear more from other prospects about that official visit weekend and what that kind of entailed?
Well, Delp's going to be there too. I know that he's a guy that we've confirmed is going to be making that trip as well. So like you said, shaping up to be a massive weekend in Athens. And I think that, having the Georgia-only weekend makes a lot of sense. The feeling from people I've spoken to is that it's going to be maybe, 15 official visitors at a time. You can't go with those huge numbers right this second. I don't think that you will see, 30 and 50 kids or anything like that. So, make it close to home. I think that makes a lot of sense. Be interesting to see how that crowd ends up shaking out because there's a lot of talent available in the state. Probably going to be tough to select even who those guys will be. But I think that they've got a great shot of putting together an impressive weekend and already off to a strong start to do it.
And if Emory Floyd is in that group that's going on that June 4th, 5th, 6th official visit, I think you can really look at him as a cornerback for Georgia moving forward. I know that Auburn is going to be playing a big role in his recruitment as well, but Emory Floyd is a guy that he spoke very highly of Georgia, and I think he really had a big smile on his face when he was describing Kirby Smart being a defensive backs coach himself. He spoke highly of Coach Ada, so a lot of guys did actually spoke highly about him and how he's able to connect to these guys. So if you're looking at reassurance as to Kirby hiring Coach A to coach the defensive backs, a lot of guys gave that reassurance today and said that he's reached out to them. They've had great conversations. He's a family man. He talks about their families. He gets to know their families as well. So from all indications so far, the hiring of Coach A for the defensive backs seems to be a good one, at least off the field in terms of recruiting. Jake, before we let you go, man, before we wrap this thing up, Lump Dog put in the chat, he said, Jake, and we talked about this a little bit today, randomly, of course, what are your top 5 colleges you'd visit if you were looking for a fun time? Austin, Arizona State, SoCal, where are you going, dude?
Ooh, boy, good question. I like that one.
Yeah.
I've heard great things about Madison, Wisconsin, so I'm definitely probably taking one up there.
Hold on. Are you serious?
Dude, Madison, Wisconsin is consistently ranked as one of the greatest college towns on earth. No question about it. I mean, I'm waiting until
I would have put down my house. Jake, I would have put down my house note that the first college you said would have not been Wisconsin.
I'm just trying to get to Madison, dude. By any means
all right, fair enough.
But I'm going to Madison for sure. I think that I would love to go. I'd definitely like to take one to Southern Cal. I think that'd be sick. You got to think that all the things that Nike's done up in Oregon would be incredible. And, I think that I'd probably love to see a game in Death Valley with the LSU Tigers with a capacity crowd rocking at night. That would be, we had a chance to do that. We had a chance to go there and see it with a capacity crowd. I can only imagine if you're a kid in high school trying to take that in. And I went to college at Georgia, so I'm not going to spend an official visit at the place I already went to college.
Right.
They already got my money. So
right. They got mine as well. They called the other night at like 9 p.m. randomly asking for money. It was weird, but anyways.
I'm probably going to take that last one. If it's me, it's not too far from home, but listen, the talent is strong in Tallahassee, so I'm going to go down there. Yeah.
Okay, so I know you didn't ask me, Lump, but I'm going to give you a couple of mine. I'm going first visit, I'm going to Hawaii. No questions asked. There's no question that Hawaii needs to be on your top 5 list of schools to go visit. Now, would I play college football there? Absolutely not, because you're on a plane You fly so many miles, and your time zones are completely out of whack. If your family's back here in Georgia, they're not watching your games. They don't even know you exist anymore if you're out there, probably. But I am going to take an official visit to Hawaii. Arizona State's going to be there as well. I would love to see, like you said, LSU, Death Valley, like a night game there. So there's 3. Oh, man. The last 2, I'd probably like to go to Oregon. I agreed with you on that one. And then probably a Florida school would be my guess. Miami, maybe, to see what the life is down there. And then you could always throw in, I don't know how crazy it gets over there, UNLV. That would be another one as well, Jake.
Yeah, well, look at you, Paul. You're being real pragmatic about it. I like that. You're going to Hawaii and to Las Vegas. That's dangerous as a kid, for sure.
It is dangerous as a 17-year-old young man, but I feel like I am mature enough back then to be able to handle those necessary trips that I would have to take. Now, would I land on any of those schools? Absolutely not. Let's see here. Q-Flow in the chat, Jake says, I can't believe you started with Madison, Wisconsin. I can't either, dude. It's absolutely baffling. But Q-Flow also said Arizona State's very underrated. And let's see. Johnny Lester said, I would flunk out of Hawaii so fast surfing and partying. Yeah, man, it wouldn't be a question. But I honestly, before we get off of here, I don't know why more guys don't take visits to Hawaii. I guess Hawaii realizes, hey, if we offer these guys official visits, any 5-star is going to come see us. Are they going to play for us? Absolutely not. So maybe that's it. Recruiting budget, I don't know. But you just don't hear about a lot of guys taking visits to official visits to Hawaii when I feel like that would be, one of the top places to go as an official visit. Jake, what else you got for us on the recruiting front, man, before we wrap this thing up, brother?
Man, we got plenty coming out. Just make sure to head over to UGASports.com. Should be a loaded week. Lots of coverage. Like I said, we'll have all this stuff from the Under Armour camp. We got Malachi Stark's commitment coverage on Thursday. Just loaded up right now. We're working like crazy, but it's what we love to do, and we're thankful that we get to do it.
So, guys, thank you so much for watching. As always, next week we'll be back 7:30 Sunday night. Maybe Georgia will have another corner. We'll be further into the NCAA tournament. We can talk about that. I'm sure Jake Roose might join us for a little bit there as well to talk about the Malachi Starks commitment, where he ends up. Nobody knows. I don't even think Malachi does right now at this point. But, guys, thanks so much for staying with us. The chat was great tonight. Love to hear from you guys. John Freeman, Jonathan Taylor, Lump Dog, Johnny Lester, Q Flow, Mitchell Fletcher, all you guys, plus many more scrolling up through there. We appreciate you guys so much. Johnny Lester said 2021 is the year of the dog. Mitchell Fletcher says, thanks, guys. We appreciate you as well, Mitchell. So any of you guys have any questions, feel free to hit us up on Twitter, or as always, you can hit us up over on UGA Sports on the Vault. Signing off for Jake Roose, I'm Paul Maharry. We appreciate you guys so much. Have a good night.